Senator Mark Kelly is absolutely panicking, so much so that he went on Face the Nation to address all of this.
I want to pick up where we left off on this topic of political violence. I know your family has suffered because of it very, very directly. And then this past week, the president called that video you participated in sedition. You heard me read what he said again this morning. Sedition at the highest level and a major crime. Do you have credible threats? How concerned are you about your security at this point?
Well, Margaret, what the president said is very serious. I didn't think he would step over that line.
Now, right away, I love this because that's perhaps the most honest thing he said. I didn't think the president would step over this line. This is exactly why it's so important to be firm when it comes to consequences and justice. Because once you lay down consequences like this, it deters all future behavior. He didn't think the president would cross that line. And then there Trump was, reminding everybody about the consequences of sedition, which, yes, is possibly being executed for it. And of course, the Democrats, oh my God, he was calling for the death of congressmen. Well, no, actually. The same argument that these sleazeball, bad faith, disgusting Democrats want to use in favor of people like Mark Kelly here, they were only reminding the soldiers that they can disobey illegal orders. Well, fair enough, I guess, right? But if you want to be that bad faith about it, let's just use your same logic in regards to what President Donald Trump put out on Truth Social. He was simply reminding people what the consequences are for seditious treason. See how that works, you scumbags? But even better than that, the president doing this has reminded people that there are consequences out there for bad actions like this. Because all along, the Democrats have detected weakness in President Trump himself, I gotta say it, as well as his entire administration. No thanks to people like Pam Bondi, who just absolutely have no spine. But what they're doing at this point is they've gotten away with so much that they are just daring the Trump administration to act. They're daring them. And in the back of their mind, they just don't think anything's ever going to happen to them. And in most cases, I got to be honest with you, I don't think anything will. But this might be a different case right here for a whole host of different reasons. And I'm going to break all of that down in just a minute.
Calling for the execution of members of Congress. And his words carry tremendous weight, more so than anybody else in the country, and he should be aware of that. And because of what he says, there is now an increased threats against us. I'm not going to get into, details on my personal security, but as the husband of Congresswoman Gabby Giffords, I understand what political violence is. The president should as well. Just like Gabby, somebody tried to assassinate him, and he should understand that his words could have serious consequences.
It's so funny watching a two-faced Democrat slimeball sleazebag politician speak about the president and speak in a way where they don't even see the irony of it. President Trump should be aware that his words have consequences. Maybe you should be aware that your words have consequences. And here's the thing. Here's why I'm making this video today. Because the Democrats are arguing in such atrociously bad faith about all of this. Again, they only call for troops to disobey illegal orders. Here's the problem with that argument. 18 U.S. Code 2387. It's very specific about what sedition is. Activities affecting armed forces generally. Criminalizes knowingly advising, counseling, or urging any member of the U.S. military to disobey, desert, or refuse lawful orders with the intent to interfere with military operations or loyalty. Penalty. The fact of the matter is, Senator Mark Kelly was not within his rights to put out such a video because we all know, first of all, the video is done completely in bad faith. The president has not instructed our soldiers to carry out any illegal or unlawful orders at all so far. But there's a whole host of problems that tie in with this. You cannot knowingly advise or counsel soldiers to disobey the president. Because it gets deeper than just, well, they said illegal orders. No, here's why. The Uniform Code of Military Justice mandates obedience to lawful orders from superiors under Articles 90 and 92, punishing willful disobedience of valid commands. A lawful order aligns with the Constitution, U.S. laws, treaties, and military regulations. Here's the most important part. It's presumed valid unless it clearly directs an illegal act like murder or torture without justification. That's right. When the president, the commander-in-chief of America, gives the military orders, those orders are automatically presumed valid and legal by default. And it's not like the president just sits there, Trump or otherwise, and just for 5 minutes thinks, oh, I want the military to do this, and then buzzes some button and orders the generals to move. These orders are given out carefully. And for all you out there with TDS, it doesn't matter that it's Trump. They're given out carefully. There are legal teams even centered around all of this. He's counseled by members of the military, generals, Pete Hegseth, and then the orders are given. These orders are not given on some sort of decree or whim within a moment's notice, unless we're under attack or something and it's an emergency. And even then, there's usually a situation room meeting. And so knowing that the president's orders, or that any general's orders, any superior in the military who gives orders, it is presumed by default that they're legal orders, means that the soldiers must obey those orders. And it also means that people like Senator Mark Kelly, who are completely without excuse because he served in our military, knows this as well. And so when I bring you back to 18 U.S. Code 2387, criminalizes knowingly advising, counseling, or urging any members of the U.S. military to disobey, desert, or refuse lawful orders, it should all make sense to you. What Mark Kelly did, in fact, was encourage U.S. soldiers to disobey lawful orders, because the president has not given any unlawful orders. He has not given any illegal orders, and all of his orders given are presumed legal, unless they're blatantly illegal, and none of them have been. Furthermore, one of the biggest conflicts of interest, I would say, in all of this is they are willfully trying to confuse soldiers in our military when it comes to what orders Trump gives and what legal ground they're on. Why? It's because this entire time, President Donald Trump has been challenged every step of the way. The messaging from the Democrat Party as a whole, using all of these low-level district court judges, is basically, oh my God, this guy's not a president. He's a dictator. Everything he's doing is illegal. We must use these judges to try to stop him. It doesn't matter that they're failing, by the way, because the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, which is mostly Democrat, overturns these low-level district court judges and most of the time rules in Trump's favor. And if they don't, it goes to the Supreme Court, which almost always rules in Trump's favor. What Trump is doing is not illegal, but the Democrats have been putting on this show now for the entirety of his second term so far. All this year, we've seen federal district court judges challenging everything Trump has done, every step of the way. And the implication of that is that Trump is doing something illegal or unlawful, and a judge must stop it. So when you combine that fact with what Senator Mark Kelly did here, which was knowingly advise or counsel not just one soldier, but via a video that went viral, our entire military, trying to sway them into disobeying orders, which, by the way, if they do you think Senator Mark Kelly gives a about some peon soldier who commits seditious treason? Absolutely not. Because these soldiers to Senator Mark Kelly are just pawns to be used in his game. But that is essentially what was all going on here, and that is why I think Senator Mark Kelly is in massive trouble. Apparently, he now very likely will actually be called back into service because I believe he retired from the military, which means he can be called back at any point in time. And so what I'm seeing from Pete Hegseth is he's going to be called back into service, and then he's going to face the military courts, where he'll be court-martialed, I believe, and hopefully thrown into maybe even military prison. And he totally deserves it. But all of this was to answer the common comment that I get on all of my social medias. I'm on TikTok, and I see this all the time on TikTok. Only illegal orders. They were only persuading them to disobey possibly illegal orders. You ask them which ones, they can't name any because there are none. And again, the most important takeaway from this, when the president, the commander-in-chief, gives the military an order, it is presumed by default to be legal and lawful. And that's why what Senator Mark Kelly did was very likely sedition. And he should face charges for this. He should be fined and imprisoned, at the very least. What are your thoughts and opinions on all of this, though? Leave a comment down below. If you enjoyed that clip, be sure to check out my YouTube channel where I have the full video where this clip was taken from published. And if you're America First like I am and you're an American advocate, be sure to subscribe and like the post. Thanks so much for watching.